Hi everyone, today we got a really choppy session here. You can see pre-market rallied aggressively, hit that highly traded zone, hit the low consolidation of this area here, rejected from there, hit the trend support, and then rallied up, finishing bullish on the session. Hopefully this is a low, higher, low setup, and we are looking for a bigger continuation here, but let's take a look at all of the charts. Do me a quick favor and like and subscribe and watch the video till the end to help out the channel, and let's get started. In news today, we got Walmart execs saying that American manufacturing is coming back. It's real and it's good for business. And this kind of leads towards what we were talking about this weekend of the small caps being a good place to be. If manufacturing is coming back, the stocks outside of tech are probably going to be the ones that benefit the most from that. And that should be good for the broader economy and ultimately good for the Russell 2000, maybe not as great for the Mag 7. Start to see a little bit of that investment in those companies, the concentration in those companies get dispersed a little bit. And that should be good for jobs, good for the country, and they say here, good for the supply chain, making it more flexible and more dynamic and less dependent on every other country and a little bit more domestically capable here. So overall, I think this is a good thing and should be bullish for the stock market over the coming years. Obviously, it's not a short-term trade, but if this continues to happen, I think this will be good for the markets over the next couple of years. Moving over to fear and greed, we are at a 30 from a 29, so it stepped up just a little bit here. Still fear on momentum, still neutral here on strength, extreme fear here on breadth, although we did see just a little bit of a step up. We'll see what that looks like. Put call ratio neutral here, starting to elevate a little bit more. Volatility basically flat on the day, still extreme fear on that, as well as safe haven demand, still extreme fear, coming back down, basically flat between these two. And then junk bond demand coming down a little bit, but still extreme fear. So interesting to see. Still a lot of fear metrics, despite the fact that we are just barely off of all-time highs. Moving over to the earnings calendar, pretty good across the board. Bank of America beating, Morgan Stanley beating, United Airlines beat on earnings but missed on revenues, so a little bit mixed there. For tomorrow, you got Charles Schwab, Bank of New York Mellon, U.S. Bank Corp, Travelers Insurance, and then for the Friday, American Express to round it out. Moving over to the economic calendar, basically nothing here for today. For tomorrow, we are looking at Atlanta Fed GDP, Philly Fed manufacturing. Not a great forecast there based on the article that we just read. Would like to see that go up a little bit. For the Friday, still got payrolls on there. We'll see if that comes in. Probably not, but been pretty light on the data since everything continues to get pushed off since the government is closed. Moving over to the charts, starting off with the S&Ps, you can see we were up about a 0.4% on the day, but like I said, it was really choppy here. You can see the rally up, gave it all back on a 0.5% down candle, continued to go here down another 1% or so to that zone of support before bouncing into this kind of basically unchanged from the gap up area. Momentum is still bullish. You can argue higher low setup, but it was, like I said, pretty choppy on the session. Wide ranging candle with the highs up around 670, the lows there around 658. So either way, this is still holding as a potential bounce. We're still below this previous low here. So structurally, you could argue kind of a break with that low, lower low here, and then that high, potentially lower high setup here. But on the short time frames, we're still watching this bullish structure with that low, higher low, higher low. And in the short term, I am still looking for a little bit of a rally out of this area. Moving over to the Tasty charts here, again, same kind of structure, pushed that upper ATR band, hit the lowest ATR band, held that structure on a closing basis, so still technically bullish conditions here. Trailing stop 663.38, looking for this to rally back up to that upper ATR band, which is currently sitting at 669.82. Gives you a little bit of room there to the upside, should continue to go here if it's going to do it. Still bullish conditions, like I mentioned, but of course, on that daily chart, we still have bearish conditions with your trailing stop up here in that 678 area. Gives you plenty of room again to rally, potentially hit that zone and then reject if it's going to give us a broader topping pattern. But for now, like I said, still very much bullish conditions on the short time frames. Moving over to the NASDAQ, same thesis here. Big wide ranging candle, got all the way up into the 606 area. Thought we were going to rally up to here around 612. Thought we would just kind of cut through here. At this point, it seemed like there was a lot of bullish momentum. The volume wasn't a ton, but still had a strong push here and then gave it all back, pushing down to this kind of short-term trend structure here. Ended up bouncing from there, and now we're rallying after hours. Continues to stay bullish bullish here. Looks nice. Up 0.7 on the day. Momentum swinging to bullish. Looks like this is going to continue to go at least to that upper area here around 612, and then we'll see what happens after that. You could argue this still kind of looks like a head and shoulders with the left shoulder head, right shoulder forming, but we haven't done that yet. I think we have a little bit more in it. And then moving over to the Tasty charts here, I was looking to buy that breakout above this structure here, and I did. I was a little bit late on the trigger, sold a call against it, so it wasn't too bad, but either way, I was a little bit late on the buy. Still looking for this to go up to that kind of 612 area, and then we'll see what happens. Does it get up to that next zone? Does it get to that upper ATR band around 620? That's a little bit of a change in thesis, a little bit more bullish here now after today's candle. You can still see that low, higher low structure. Hit that 144 briefly, and now we're rallying out. Everything continues to look relatively bullish. Trailing stop on the 4-hour up around 611. So still have some bearish conditions, but the short time frames, like I said, still very much bullish. And you can see that here on the hourly chart, came down, hit that zone, and then bounced up. Moving over to the Russell and the Dow, same as everything else on the Russell, pushed all the way up to 252, pulled back to the 21 EMA, and then rallied up out of there. Are we going to get the continuation through that tomorrow, or is this starting to fade in its momentum? Came down, retested that trend line, and bounced. Momentum still a little bit bullish here. Then looking at that daily chart, big shooting star style candle, gap up, tiny little body, big wicks in both directions. We'll see if this is a reversal candle or not. I think it's probably going to be a continuation, but you never know. Been bullish on the small caps. Talked about it all weekend. Talked about it yesterday. Small caps look really, really nice. And then looking at the Dow, pretty similar to everything else. Basically unchanged. Exactly unchanged actually on the day. After hours, it is drifting a little bit higher. Moving over to the Mag 7. Mag 7 was positive 0.8%. Still below the 9 EMAs. Still below VWAP. Still below 21 EMA. Still above 55. So we're kind of stuck in this kind of mixed conditions. Still holding in support. Still waiting for these to either break out above these levels, or it's going to reject from here ultimately and get below this 55. Still not super bullish on the Mag 7, but it seems to be holding here for a bit, and this could take a couple of days, potentially towards the end of October before this catches all the way up, and then we see it break, but I think ultimately it will break. Moving over to Apple and Microsoft. Apple up 0.6, so it did hold a little bit of structure in here. Momentum stepping back to bullish. Interesting. Want to see that continue if it's going to do it. Maybe it retests the trend structure and then gets a lower high and a breakdown. Either way, here 260 continues to be kind of that zone of resistance. Not anywhere near that. Came in here a couple of times and sold. Still believe that's going to be a short-term top, or probably a little bit longer term top. And then looking at Microsoft, negative on the day, 14 cents, rejecting from this trend structure here. Momentum bearish, RSI still bearish. Off of this kind of high, lower high setup here. You could still kind of argue low, higher low, maybe higher low. It's right at the level there, 506. 506 goes, then you're looking for this kind of area here around 496. But if 506 can hold, then you could be looking for a little bit of a bullish move off of that. Moving over to Tesla and NVIDIA. Tesla up 1.38%. Momentum still swinging to bullish. RSI still very much bearish. So mixed conditions, still in the same consolidation. Did gap above all the EMAs and SMAs, so that's a little bit bullish. It's up a little bit more after hours. If it can hold above those, maybe you look for a little bit more push here. That would be interesting. Maybe it gets a rally back towards those highs, 5%, maybe 8%. That would be interesting. And then looking at NVIDIA, this has been kind of a nothing day. Wide ranging, same as the previous day where we gapped up and then fell all the way back down to that 180 level almost exactly. The closing price was 179.83. Momentum still bearish here. RSI still bearish. But you could argue this kind of structure here, low, higher low, higher low, higher low. Is it going to push back up towards that upper range here around the 200 area? That's what you could be looking for, but right now 180, keep that as your kind of zone of resistance. Moving over to Alphabet and Meta. Meta continues to be not super great. Still in this kind of downtrending structure. Doesn't look good at all. Still in this kind of consolidation, maybe drifting off of this low. Momentum gaining a little bit of strength here, but not super convincing. The better story that I wanted to highlight really was Alphabet, right? You got this kind of bull flag type setup. Got a break above the bull flag here. This looks like it's set for a bigger continuation here. So look for that on Alphabet tomorrow. So definitely something to watch. Moving over to staples and discretionary. Staples was positive 0.18%. Discretionary is up 0.15%. Momentum still bullish here on staples. That continues to be the better looking sector. RSI also looking good above that trend line here. I think this has a lot more in it. It did look super bullish and then gave some of that back, but I think we'll have a little bit more follow through on that. And then looking at discretionaries, rejected off that level again, 235.85 continues to be resistance. As long as that holds as resistance, you have a bearish structure. If it can push back above that and hold that level, then you're a little bit more bullish. Moving over to breadth, 20 and 50-day breadth, bit of mixed conditions here. You can see went higher and then gave it all back, similar to what we saw on the price action, but you still have really strong levels on small caps, still holding really well there. So I think we're probably okay on breadth. We're not cratering, but we're not going higher, so you're not trying to take profits super aggressively. The structure is still not great, right? You still have series of lower highs and lower lows. Is this another zone of that, or is this kind of a short-term bottom? That's what we're waiting to find out. And it doesn't look any better here on the 50-day either. Moving over to the dollar did fall here a little bit today, a little bit more than I thought that it would. I was hoping this 200 was going to hold in here, or even the 144. It looked okay yesterday, kind of a topping pattern, but ended up falling through this level here, so we got bigger continuation. You can see breakdown, kind of retest in here, continuation lower. So short-term structure is a little bit bearish, longer-term structure is still bullish. Might see this correct a little bit more, hold the higher low structure in here, and then get that bigger push out, which is probably why we're seeing equities hang in there, at least for the next couple days. Moving over to bonds. Bonds looked okay on the day. J&K up 1/3%. Nice gap and rally there. Momentum bullish. Good volume over the last 2 days. So that is a nice confirmation higher. That should be a little bit of risk on for markets, a little bit of bullishness over the next day or two from what we're seeing on J&K. And then TLT here, this tried to break out and gave it back. I did go long on TLT here, still have this position. It's up a smidgen after hours. I still think this is going to go to 92.82 in here. Momentum still very much bullish and it's not overbought yet, so this should have a little bit more room to the upside, looking for that target there. Moving over to the VIX. The VIX held a higher low structure here, still showing this rounding structure, still holding this zone in here. It's right at the 20 level, closed above it, 2063. Definitely some volatility in markets, but that volatility doesn't mean necessarily that we are going lower. We do have wide ranging candles, so that is volatility. Volatility doesn't necessarily mean that it's going lower. So for now, elevated volatility, understand that, but either way, still looks like consolidation, not giving us anything in terms of direction relative to what we saw yesterday. Moving over to my accounts, I did get chopped up a little bit, which was frustrating. I was bullish going into the day, and that was fine, and then the Q started rallying too aggressively against my position, so I ended up turning that into a covered call, and then I rolled down into it too aggressively, so I got whipsawed, which was frustrating. I left this IWM position intact. That's still good. That was profitable on the day, and that should continue to be in good position over the next couple days. Still bullish on the small caps, and then for the Qs, still bullish here. Max profit on this is going to be $6.04. You can see the credit, $6, $5.98 call, so $6.04 is the max profit position. Made some credit on the down move, so this should be an okay position, but it is out to the Monday, so I just have to be ready to be patient on that one. And then I did put on those Qs, like I said. It's in a small loser here, but I'll continue to watch it. I think it'll be in good shape. If it drops below that level that I was watching, then I'll probably take it off, but otherwise looking for that 92 level. And then for the dollar, basically no changes there, just 9 cents. Still expecting the dollar to be bullish over the next 2 months. Let me know in the comment section what you think of the Walmart comments about US manufacturing. Is it actually coming back? Is that going to be good for the stock market? Is it good for tech, or are we going to see a market broadening and starting to buy up some of these less loved stocks like the Russell 2000? Let me know. Otherwise, like and subscribe if you got any value out of this video. Make sure you hit the bell so you don't miss out on any future episodes. Of course, none of this is financial advice. This is all for entertainment purposes. Good luck in your trading and have a great day.